Vincenzo's Go Crypto Investing, this August the 19th, 2025 update. And you can see the Bitcoin price is down again 2%. Ethereum is going towards that 4,000 megaphone neckline resistance or support that it's broken out of, that we've been talking about since last week, that it would probably come down to, because that's just technically what usually happens. And then it should bounce from there. The Bitcoin price now looks like it might be coming all the way down and retesting the pattern support. And that's honestly what it looks like it's going to do now, coming off the all-time high. Now it looks like it's going to come down to, at minimum, this 110,561 and this uptrending support of this 3.5-year pattern that we've been harping on is a major support level. And if that breaks, that would be trying to signal a major pattern shift for the first time in 3.5 years. So this is a very critical area as we come down to here. But what's most likely to happen is you would bounce off of this, just like you did a couple of months ago back here. What is that? In late June, you hit it and bounced off of it. I would expect something like this to happen, because if you notice, the same way we're coming in off a previous all-time high back then, you can see it's off the previous new all-time high. It's trading in a similar way down. So I'm thinking, and we'll look into this in more detail here in a minute, but I'm thinking it's coming down to there. The same thing with Ethereum. We drew this last Thursday or Friday when we were up here in green and said it should come down to the 4,071 and change. And that would be a healthy correction from where it's at all the way down there. That's a 15% correction. And there should be a bounce off of that. And the bounce should bring you up to at least the 4,833 and 35 cents, which is the all-time high. So that's what I think is going on. But for any reason, if it did slip this, you would come straight down to the 50-day moving average, right? So this is going to be very interesting, and we'll talk about this too. And we'll talk about what I've been talking about, the corporate ETFs, the micro strategies where they're turning their companies into quasi Bitcoin treasuries. They want to buy up all the Bitcoin and Ethereum between the BlackRocks and the micro strategy companies like that around the world, so that not one single XRP token or Ethereum Bitcoin, not XRP, a Bitcoin and Ethereum token is available for retail custodial ownership, right? They don't want you to be able to actually own it. They want you to have to participate in their fund, meaning they own the actual Bitcoin and the asset, and you just pay them a management fee to participate in the overall fund, but you physically don't control any of it. That would be like if you weren't allowed in all the gold bullion and the gold was bought up, and you could only participate in a paper ETF and could never physically own the gold. They want to make it to where a retail and the private citizen can never physically own Bitcoin or Ethereum. Bitcoin whale adds 20K BTC. Post-dip historical data hints at upward price moment. Look at all these. And this is just reaffirming what I've been talking about and harping on now for about a month now, about these companies buying up all. Japanese Libwork now adopts Bitcoin Treasury. So now another big company in Japan are going to be like a micro strategy and turn their company into a quasi treasury, Bitcoin Treasury, and they're going to buy up a bunch of Bitcoin. Kinley Media secures $679 million in Bitcoin to begin Nakamoto Treasury, another company. Who sells first? These Bitcoin investors most prone to panic and downturns. Crypto giant push $6 billion Ethereum Treasury strategy to convince Wall Street. Bitmat Tom Lee Insight predicts Ethereum dip to 4,075. Vincenzo has been on top of that and made the prediction before, whoever Tom Lee is. Let's see. Crypto in U.S. 401k retirement plans may drive Bitcoin to 200K in 2025. Let's see if any of these other. Now let's look at Ethereum. Who's been buying up Ethereum? And it's all corporate and quasi turning them into Ethereum treasuries. Let's look at this. Joel Lab, Sharplink, gambling doubles down on Ethereum, now holds $3.2 billion. Dollar slips traders' weight on Jackson Hole meeting. Here's what happened in crypto today. 1inch launches Solana, nobody cares. Tom Lee framework. Crypto giant pushes $6 billion Ethereum treasury strategy. It's an Ethereum treasury, so massive Ethereum buys, right? These companies and corporates, they want to own all, and once they own that, they'll start going after XRP, ETFs, they'll have those out. They'll go after Solana, they'll go after XLM, and any of the coins that they think would actually have utility. They want to own it all, and you have to remember that, and I'm going to keep harping that, and that's why you're here. And it's as cheap and easy in the video description and or pinned comment to support the channel, to keep this message going, to heighten the education of truth, trust, and education, to become an asset millionaire. And I'm here becoming an asset millionaire on a 12, 13 year, almost a decade and a half year journey. And now I'm sharing it with you with truth and trust and the information and education you need with gold and silver bullion and mining stocks, 401k study investing, cryptocurrencies, real estate, cash on the side for peace of mind. Yes. In a CD or bond, earning 3 to 5% for emergencies like a car repair, roof, home repair, medical bills, but more importantly, to buy a new asset when the time presents itself and or accumulating into an existing asset. And without free cash, you can't do that. So you always want to have a little bit of cash, but always have an earning 3 to 5% in a CD or a short-term bond, right? But it's $3.99. It's as cheap as that to become a Jabroni Killer member and support the channel. And that's how we continue to grow and make these videos free for you to enjoy and get educated and become an asset millionaire and increase your standard of living, as I am doing with my own. You can see the Bitcoin price, like we told you, we talked about it earlier. This 3.5 year pattern that we've been in, if we zoom out, you can see that's the rising channel. This is where the pattern started, the mountain double top with the 2 arrows, the top. And then we could even put clone. We could even clone and show you where the neckline is. And then we'll have an arrow on the neckline. You can see where it broke out of. We'll change the neckline to red. You can see that where it hit the neckline resistance and clone. And then where you hit it again right there. So you can see the mountain double top and then the neckline resistance on the mountain double top. And then the targeted move was actually, and here's how we did this, and here's how technically you do this, a free technical class right here that some of these shysters try to charge you $50 a class for, from the top of the mountain double top to the confirmed neckline, support over a 2-year span, because this was a macro time frame pattern. Then you go to the point of a breakout, and that would have got you to about $11,619. That's why that was our target. And you can see we actually came down to 15,370. So from when we were in this double top, nobody called that except old Vincenzo, to the detriment of this channel, because it got me suppressed and I got the unpopularity. But you can see the multi-year crippling bear market that there was, where the Celsiuses of the world, the BlockFis of the world, the FTXs of the world, the 3 Arrow Capities of the world, and all those other coins that had coins associated with it went bankrupt and people lost all their money. And then we were in this rising channel. And the critical thing now is you're coming down to retest it for a second time now, actually a third time in the last 9 months. The first time was a fake out back in March and April, and you quickly got bought back up to a new all-time high. Then you came back down and touched it again a few months later here in mid to late June. And it was just a wick, and then the ferocious buys were there. Are we going to have another ferocious buy, or are we going to have another fake out to the downside where we come down to, say, the 103 to even potentially the 97 and then get ferociously bought back up? This is going to be a very interesting time over the next several weeks here. In the next week, by this weekend, we're going to come down to that 100-day moving average. If we're going to come down there, the same thing with Ethereum. Ethereum's going to come down to the 4,071 like we talked about a week ago. And then there should be a nice bounce off of there. If you break that, you're going to look at the 3671. But I'm expecting a major retaliatory bounce off of it. Could it come down a little bit below it? Yes, but I'm expecting a big bounce and a fast bounce off the $4,000, at least a 20% move up to 48.33. But I think it'll break that into the 5,000s, and I'm projecting a $5,169.05, 27.81% move off of the support, similar to the move off of the support from there. From the support, it went up 38%. I'm expecting a similar move is what I'm trying to tell you. I was expecting this correction, and I'm expecting the rally after that. And I'm probably going to take a trade on Ethereum on that, because I think it's going to be a great opportunity. And I think that's what's going on there in Ethereum. Obviously, if it comes to below that, the 50-day moving average is a major underneath support right now, along with the 34.93. The XLM has been beaten down to the 50-day moving average, and we're wicked just above right now the 50-day. We're going to hit the 50-day, and I believe what's going to happen now, like we were talking about the other day, is we're going to actually have to retest now with a couple of full candle hits instead of just a wick like you had 2 wicks there, and you're going to have to trade on the 100-day moving average and the 36 cents again, and I think you would have a bounce. So I think in the short term, this is what you're going to do. Then you would come back up into here, and then this is where we're going to have to reevaluate if this is going to break to the upside, or if the next leg is going to be something that slips down to the 200-day moving average, and now we've just conformed into some kind of a bullish consolidation, which would be a bull flag if it consolidated like that. And that would be something we would have to reanalyze at that point. But that's something that I'm paying attention to. But in the short term, I think you are going to come down to the 35 cents. Obviously, if you bounced off the 40 cents, the 43 cents is your major overhead resistance in XLM. But we're just looking at the immediate short term here. And that's the same thing with XRP. I think in the short term, this is similar what you're going to do. I think you're going to come down to between the 100-day and the 255, and then come back, and whether you bounce off the 100-day in blue or you come down to the 200-day or the 255, once you get it back into this area off whatever one of those two you bounce off of, that's where we're going to have to reanalyze, because that could be a bull flag that we're trying to form here in the XRP. But you can see the track in the background does show a consistent consolidation, and they did call the pump. You can see all of them back there had the massive rally right there. I should have played it more. I didn't trust it enough, but they're all saying it should come down now over the next 3 to 6 months, or 2 to 4 months, with the mean low between $1.55 and $2.13. And if it hit the $1.55, that would get very close to one of the targets we had before. And you can see how they play out. So we're going to pay attention to this with the XRP over the coming weeks. But I think the next move is down to the 271 and XRP. Like the channel, subscribe, peace and love. Stay educated, stay informed, become members of Jabroni Killers, and work your way and become an asset millionaire like myself. Peace and love. The Rex Eyebrow, Jay.